Now, thousands of demonstrations are set to take place tomorrow in Madrid against the government's recent anti-protest bill. Activists and opposition groups say the law violates fundamental rights and freedoms. More details in the following report.
In much anticipated irony, Spain's anti-protest bill is set to be challenged with a mass demonstration set to take place tomorrow. Since the lower house of the Spanish parliament approved the law a week ago, fierce opposition against the legislation has only grown louder. Critics and activists who have dubbed it as gag law say it violates the right to protest, limits freedom of expression, and gives more power to the police.
I think it presents a conception of public security which is very different from what the Constitutional Court has wanted to establish, and that will imply a significant recession in the exercise of fundamental rights, particularly the right to protest, the right to meet, and freedom of expression.
The new legislation seeks to limit demonstrations to authorised gatherings and imposes heavy fines on unauthorised protesters. They can be slapped with fines of up to €600,000, while those who disobey police or prevent authorities from carrying out evictions can also be fined up to €30,000. Since Spain's economic crisis in 2008 and the introduction of crippling austerity measures, protests have become the norm. Although largely peaceful, some have ended up in clashes with police. But opposition parties say this new law is an attempt by Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government to curb protests over its failed handling of the economic crisis.
I think the government is trying to manage through administrative sanctions, through repression, a social conflict generated by the dismantling of the welfare state.
The government, though, insists it is necessary.
It's necessary,
convenient and appropriate to update and improve our legal framework, a matter that is of vital importance to citizens. We have two goals: to strengthen the guarantee of citizen rights and legal security with a more complete and effective regulation that responds in a more efficient manner to behaviors that represent a threat to public security, which have evolved a lot, just like the Spanish society over these 22 years.
Amendments to the bill would also make it legal for Spanish police to immediately deport migrants caught illegally entering through the Northern Africa territories of Melilla and Ceuta. However, these expulsions are criticised under European legal norms, as they deny migrants their right to seek asylum. The bill still needs the final approval of Spain's upper house of parliament. With no date set for the vote, activists and campaigners will take every opportunity to voice their disapproval until then.
To discuss the anti-protest bill in Spain further, Celia Maza, a journalist, is joining us via Skype. Celia, what implications would this bill have if it actually does go into effect, and how would it affect the support of the current Spanish government?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. I mean, this is a very important and difficult times in Spain. As you say, the society is so disappointed with the politicians, and I think that this law is going to hide the tense in the streets. Obviously, one of the most important things of this new law is that when we have, before that we have crimes. So, I mean, if you've been accused of a crime, for example, had a fight with an agent of the police, you have a legal process, and finally was the decision of the judge if you are guilty or no. But now, if the police consider that you make an offense, you straight away you have to pay the penalty, and in some circumstances the penalty are so high. For example, if you try to go out protest to avoid an eviction, for example, that now is so popular in Spain, to doing that because we have a lot of families struggling to have the mortgages. For example, with that situation, you have to pay at least 3,000 euros, which is a very, very high number.
And Celia, as you're saying, there is this discontent and they're unhappy with this anti-protest bill going ahead. Obviously, we know there's protests going to happen tomorrow. Do you think this public discontent would be enough to put pressure on the government to stop this bill from actually going through?
No, definitely. I mean, we are going to have tomorrow a big protest, as you say, but definitely the law is almost with the last details in the second camera, the House of Lords, if you can say that in el Senado. So basically, probably before Christmas, the law is going to be ready. But the most important thing is that the government approved this law because of the overall majority. The opposition and the other parties are completely against. In fact, a Labour Party in Europe asked to the authorities to see if this law is even right or is even legal, and see what happened after the general election, because the issue is that probably after general election, if the Labour is going to win, the government probably is going to cancel or to do something against this law, as you say, is so unpopular. There is a lot of controversial in this matter. So I suppose that we are going to have the law approved definitely.
Celia, I'm going to have to stop you there because we are short of time, but thank you very much for joining us via Skype from London.